How are you all doing out there? We're getting ready for our big speakers. Nigel Farage, are you all excited for that speech? All right. I hope you all are really taking this all in, because I know that there's a lot of content coming out in conversations, but this is about you all being on the front lines to take this back to your communities, because you all got to win some elections. You all got to make the change here in the UK. And as an American, we are very humbled and so honored to be with all of you, because you all are the change agents of your great country that we so cherish in America as well. And I am so honored to have these incredible panelists with us, because one of the things that I think we all treasure, and we were talking about this in America, is our First Amendment, the freedom of speech, the freedom to worship, the freedom to assemble. And watching what is happening here in Great Britain is just heartbreaking. And when I read about Lucy's story, I just couldn't believe it. As a mom, as someone trying to raise her child, and then all of a sudden, you put out a tweet. And what did this cost you?
My freedom, for a whole 12.4 months, and my freedom. So 12.4 months I served in prison. I'm still on what they call license, serving probation. I get told off weekly for things that I say that are deemed unacceptable, in the UK right now.
And you put out this tweet because there was this horrific murder that happened. And what made you say, I gotta put this out, and then how did the process go? You had the police come to your house. What happened?
Yeah, so I put out quite a horrific tweet in the aftermath, immediately after the massacre of those 3 children. Deleted it 2 hours later because I knew it wasn't the right thing to say, and was quite offensive, well, very offensive. But then I thought that would be the end of it, to be honest. I didn't expect what followed.
So, Allison, I want to go to you you're an award-winning journalist, but there's something happening here in Great Britain. Over 12,000 arrests in a single year. You're talking about 33 arrests per day. I mean, what the heck is the police doing here in Great Britain? Shouldn't you be going after criminals? Like real criminals, like murderers, rapists, I don't know. You're going after people who tweet? Give me a break.
You Americans have got no idea. We have hate crime units which are dedicated to not catching criminals, but to criminalizing people like me and Mrs. Connolly. So, yeah, just quickly, I had police come to my house on Remembrance Sunday when I was getting ready to go to the War Memorial. And they said I had posted a tweet 12 months earlier, and I said, what was the tweet? They said, we can't tell you that, madam. And I said, okay, so who is my accuser? And they said, we can't tell you that either, but they're not the accuser, they're the victim. So I had a victim. I wasn't arrested, but it's a very, very unpleasant experience. And Mercedes, I'll tell you, my theory is in our country we have had mass uncontrolled immigration, and even just under the Boris wave, we had 1.6 million people come into our country in a very short period of time, many of them low-skilled, not integrating. And what's happened is the elite class in the state have seen their multicultural project unraveling. They have no answer to this problem they've created. So what they've decided to do is to shut up people like me, Lucy, and people who start to point out that things are going very badly wrong in our country.
I got to ask you, Allison, so there is literally, I cannot believe this, a hate crime division in the police department? Like, for real?
Yeah, well, it was called, George Orwell would have really laughed at this, because it's called a non-hate crime incident department, right? And it was invented by police. It never came before our government, never came before our parliament. They invented it to make people quiet. And one senior police officer said to me, what you have to understand, Allison, is they want people to be afraid to speak.
Okay, are you afraid to speak? No. Are we going to stay silent here at CPAC? No. We are going to rise up. We are going to criticize the government if we want to criticize the government. We're going to criticize our political opponents because we are not going to stop. We have to speak up loud. We have to be bold, and we have to be brave. And let me tell you, on this panel, this is what we have right here. Okay, Matea, please explain to this ignorant American what is happening. This is not just happening in the UK. This is expanding. This is broadening. You live in Brussels.
I do.
Are they being inspired by what's happening in Great
Absolutely.
Britain? That's so scary to me.
For this one, UK is leading by example, and a lot of the other countries are following suit really quickly. In Brussels, only just last week, a couple was retained for holding 2 signs quietly in a public space, and they were arrested because the sign was saying that children cannot cannot make the decision to receive puberty suppressants, and the other sign was saying that a dad is a masculine noun and a dad is a male person. They were arrested in Brussels only last month. In Germany, they have about 3,500 arrests a year due to social media posts. A few months ago, also in Germany, a 16-year-old was pulled out of her classroom for reposting a TikTok that was conveying a message from the AfD party, and she was pulled out of class and interrogated. So this is definitely catching on. It's a trend that they really like. And for me, as a Romanian-born naturalized British citizen, I came to the West to escape the censorship of the communist countries. And I find it to be really ironical because right now, Romania, when it comes to free speech, is a pretty lax country compared to the West that I was dreaming about. So very, very ironical.
And you mentioned that Romania has actually gotten better when it comes to free speech.
For now, it is. I've worked a lot in political campaigns, and I've worked with right-wing candidates and conservative candidates. It is very difficult to platform them. So the previous presidential campaign, I campaigned for the front-running candidate who was a right-wing candidate. Literally, the left-wing media machine worked by itself, and while we had to struggle for every single article and anything positive that we wanted to put out in the press was being banned or just simply not platformed.
Which is why it's so critical for you all to engage in social media. You have your communities. You all are citizen journalists, is what you are. And you all are able to take these messages and tell Lucy's story to your community and to the world. It is why there is this change happening in the media, in the work that you're doing, Matea, as well.
Absolutely. Heritage media is compromised, if you ask me, and mainstream media and social media is the way that helped us to, just put out the values of Christianity, family, all the values that I consider normal.
Right.
Yet, Romania hasn't cracked down on social media yet, but I'm sensing that they're going to start doing it really soon.
Well, I want to ask you, Nicolas, you actually got fired from your job for saying something positive about Donald Trump. I should have Donald Trump call you.
So yeah, what was my biggest crime?
Yes.
I was just an open out supportive of Donald Trump and promoting conservative mainstream politics in the media. And to some of that was a crime and as shocked as if I had even committed the October 7th massacre. That's what they promoted. So you feel like there's a really tension regarding free speech. And just to put things into perspective, it's really a major issue. Even Emmanuel Macron, that some of you might have known, said that free speech is pure bullshit. So that's a pretty hard stance. And those are really coming out.
Okay, say that again. So
Free speech.
Macron said.
Free speech.
You got to do it with the accent. Let's go.
Free speech is a pure bullshit.
There you go.
That's the accent.
Seriously.
And it really shows, it's not only a declaration, they're really cracking down on free speech, on regulating traditional media. They're threatening closing the equivalent of GB News ahead of the upcoming election cycle. And it's not only the traditional legacy media. We have the DSA in Europe, which is regulating the social platforms. That's been fabricated by mainly a French commissioner, Thierry Breton, who, going back to Romania, said, well, we cancel the election in Romania. We'll do it in Germany and France if necessary. So they're saying the silent part out loud. They really have an agenda against democracy. If they're losing control. And so, therefore, the regulation on this social media is insane. It's in billions of posts that are being removed on a yearly basis, which is going to have implications worldwide. It might be, although it's not being voted, it's regulation, but it's aimed at being the global law of the land, which will have implications on US elections, US free speech too. So that's why we need to push back and expose them. We built platforms through this transparency database where you'll see everything that they've done. And also, it's part of the power they use to overturn the election in Romania. So it's very, very critical. It's being pushed in Brussels, and it's been even exposed by the House Judiciary Committee on how they've been supported by also, well, U.S. progressive Democrats who are trying to influence and interfere in these elections. And just one last call on this, and France, just to say how preoccupying it is, you know, in the US, they called it the Russia hoax, or the foreign interference, so they're pushing against it. But now they even coined a term where it's not foreign, it's domestic interference. So now it's just a fact of exposing a dissent, an opposing view, might be labeled as domestic interference.
Well, and I got to say, we don't need Great Britain to become China. We don't need Great Britain to be censored and for the citizens to be shut up in this process. This is horrific. This is exactly what communist and authoritarian regimes do to their people. And it's why it's so critical to fight back. And Lucy, I mean, you were in jail. Let's put this, what were you thinking when you were in jail trying to get through this? Tell us, how do you felt? Like, what were you going through? How did you mentally fortify yourself to get through this process?
I think initially I was completely broken. They really did a hatchet job on me. The press, I think the mainstream media were the worst. They really painted me out to be some kind of, you know, you'd think I'd murdered 10 children. It was really that bad. Constantly plastered across, you know, the likes of Sky News, the likes of BBC, breaking news, Tory councillor's wife. And I still, to this day, can't understand how, like, little old me, you know, I really was a nobody, ended up on that level of media scrutiny, and still do, to a degree. So I think the mainstream media are absolutely toxic in the UK. They can't be trusted to tell the truth. They have a narrative that they wish to push, and there are many, many mainstream media outlets out there that are spun by whoever is controlling them at the time. BBC, for example, it's my belief that the government have a big agenda to push with them. And I think we need to, as you said, we do need social media and we do need alternative media. We see a lot of, YouTube channels now, podcasters, like Dan Wootton with his Outspoken, Mike Graham, all that kind of thing. And they are picking up more listeners and followers now than, mainstream media. So that is why the government is so keen to shut them down and sell it as an online safety bill.
Lucy, I got to ask you this question. Do you regret sending the tweet?
Of course, I regretted sending it at the time. It wasn't a representation of who I am and what I stand for. Hence, I deleted it a couple of hours later because I knew it wasn't the right thing to say. I wouldn't have chosen to go to prison for the simple reason the biggest detriment was to my daughter. She's still not really okay. It's going to take a lot to kind of get that. I can't get that time back. But equally, I have been kind of thrown in a position where I've seen things and heard things that I can't unsee and undo, and I can't bring myself to make this all for nothing. So I'm not going to shut up, and I'm not going to go away.
Allison, what's your message to the people in this room?
Well, I'm just reading this amazing book, A Tweet Too Far by Lucy Connolly. highly recommended. I think something we should add, Mercedes, was that the Starmer government, after the Southport, the terrible massacre and people rioted, this is, Lucy had tweeted before then, was that our then Prime Minister, now gone, hallelujah, he went on TV and he basically said, we're going to come and get you, and you're going to be remanded and you're going to be jailed. And what Lucy lacked, I think people perhaps understand this, was any due process whatsoever, denied bail, perfect candidate for bail, no previous record, fast track through the judicial system, not allowed bail, railroaded, like so many people have been railroaded into pleading guilty. So can I just advise audience members, my advice would be, any policeman comes to the door, say nothing, and if you're taking...
No comment.
No comment, and also plead not guilty, because actually it's very interesting that the Free Speech Union, which helped Lucy, helped me, has helped thousands of people. If you're not a member of the Free Speech Union, join now. But what's very interesting is that the one guy in that period, Lucy's period, a guy called Jamie Michael, former Royal Marine, he had been in Afghanistan and Iraq. He was a tough guy, refused to plead guilty because he wasn't guilty, and he came before Merthyr Tydfil Crown Court, and the jury acquitted him in 17 minutes.
Wow. So they're convicted, but there's no sentencing in a lot of ways because they lack the evidence. I don't know. I think we should call for the dismantling of the hate crimes division in the police department. How about that? Now, Matea, you were talking about this earlier where it's, there's domestic violence happening in Brussels. The police is like, sorry, not getting involved. But goodness gracious, you put out a social media post and they'll come right knocking at your door.
Absolutely. This actually happened to me. I went to the police to report a person harassing me. It was harassing a friend of mine, but showed up at one of my properties. And the policeman was, and what do you want me to do? It's like, I don't know. Are you asking me? I don't know what you're supposed to do, but can you do something, please? It was like, is he still there? I was like, no, he left. Then we can't do anything. I was like, I have his, the copy of his ID and everything. Can you make sure that something worse doesn't happen? It's like, we can't do anything. Can you just come, or maybe he's still in Brussels and I can tell you where he is. It's like, no. I was like, can you please lodge my complaint? And he was like, do you want to do that? I was like, yes, I actually want to trace that I was here and I reported this. And then they started asking me questions as if I was being the suspect, and they didn't do anything but begrudgingly register my complaint. So they won't be bothered for those cases, but God forbid you hold the sign, then they would come quickly, very quickly.
Nicolas, tell us about what you're seeing. What do we have hope here? Like, really, can we make change? Can we push back against this censorship, authoritarian regimes that we're seeing happening in Western Europe?
So we're condemned to hope, and we wouldn't be here at CPAC if we didn't have hope, of course. So we're oriented to action. We've got a great election year coming in France. UK is down the road too. So
some of your candidates are wearing ankle bracelets. Seriously, let's be real.
Yeah, but look at Donald Trump. He went all the way. He faces all obstacles. He is super resilient and managed to overturn all the odds. So that's what we need here. But it's just that, and that's where we get great inspiration from CPAC, is hold our politicians accountable on the commitments they're going to make on free speech, fight back on the regulation, fight back on the activist judges and NGOs or trusted flaggers that we might have that overreach on the power that they have. They're non-elected, and they really have a severe impact on our political and democratic expression. So that's what we need to fight back on, and clearly that's what we're going to be looking at all level in Europe. So if there's a comment of really momentum, and that's so great to have CPAC in Europe and in the UK to overturn and flip the movement, because it's not going in the right direction, but we have hope, and that's where we're heading to.
Well, I will tell you, once you're part of the CPAC family, you'll learn something. We are a global, an international freedom movement. We will speak up. We will continue to fight every day for freedom. We will continue to fight every day for strong conservative governments that are really going to do good by the people. And we will fight hard against these communists, these socialists, these cancel woke crazy people that are trying to take over our governments. And you're part of that international movement. And I'm going to say something here. Lucy is a hero. Lucy's story is going to be heard across America and the world, because what she has gone through, no one should have to go through in any country. And you are, I think, such an inspiration to all of us to continue to speak and fight on and not be afraid. I want to wrap up here, just 30 seconds with each of you. What's your call to action to our wonderful audience here?
Stick together. Stop being divisive. We all want the same thing. It doesn't matter what party you support. That's what CPAC's all about. It's a movement, and we're all stronger if we work together.
Allison.
I'm currently taking legal action against Essex Police and the Essex Police and Crime Commissioner. And as the great former police officer Harry Miller said, if you can possibly do it, sue the twats. So that's my... It's a technical term, Mercedes, English technical term.
Matea.
I just want to say that I remember how it looked to live in fear during the communist era and right after it. And this has started to look terribly, terribly similar. So don't let it get to that. Stick to it, fight for it, and free speech is so important. And you only realize how important it is once you don't have it.
Yeah.
Nicolas.
Yeah, we want to make sure we're fighting for this mother of all battles, the freedom. There's the overarching principle. Without it, there's none. And that's why it's so crucial that within our civilizational allies, should it be the US, UK, and Europe, we managed to energize, create a momentum, and fight back against these globalist communists that are infringing on our free speech and trying to control our lives. So let's fight together, and thanks to CPAC.
And free speech is not bullshit. Thank you all so much for joining us. Great panel. Thank you.